Today I'm not at all sure how to start this normal introduction bit. Normally I'd allude to some defining characteristic of the race, something special about them, but how do I do that to a race that's defining characteristic is that it has no defining characteristic? A race that blends so perfectly into the crowd that developers copy-paste them willy-nilly in cutscenes, thinking the player base won't notice that. Well, I'm sure you're already aware that today we'll be looking at the Hyur. The Hyur. They lack the strength of the Rugdin or Hrothgar, the hawk-like eyes of the Elezen, the bloodhound nose of the Makote, and the deer-like ears of the Lalafell or Viera. Hells, the Midlander isn't even as strong as their Highlander cousins. So how did the Midlander become the de facto largest race in Eorzea? Where did all these Hyur come from? How do I interact with them? As I like to do, let's start with how they got here. The Hyur history split relatively early on, so we'll have to go over the history of each clan separately. So let's go over Midlander history first. For some reason, the Midlanders migrated to Eorzea in three massive, and I mean massive, immigration waves. And they just sort of appeared from everywhere at the same time. 3 times! This was not a good time for the native Elezen. For you see, the first migration led to a very friendly, not at all bloody and violent event that can best be described as a racial war. Unfortunately for the Elezen, the Hyur were winning, and thus they had to retreat to the lands of Corfas, as well as into the Black Shroud. During this time, many Hyur integrated themselves with the Corfas Elezen, and the two races founded the city-state of Ishgard together. During the second migration, the Hyur thought, hey, those tall pointy-eared buggers were such pushovers. Let's do that again. And the friendly, not at all awful fighting continued, with the Hyur pushing the Elezen even further into the Black Shroud. Eventually, the Hyur got tired of kicking the living crap out of the Elezen, and the two races signed the Pact of Gelmora, creating a lasting peace with sunshine and rainbows and the new city of Gelmora, where nothing bad ever happened again. Oh, they also lived underground. The elements didn't like the mortals playing in their forests. Years later, it was a Hyur, Yoren Lightheart, who had a chat with the elements, probably offering them some prune juice and politely asking if they could play on their lawn. Success! The Gelmora people moved above ground and founded the city-state known as Gridania today. Going back before Yoren Lightheart, the third migration of Hyur happened. These Hyur thought, hey, those tall pointy-eared people were such pushovers, but we've already signed a peace with one of them, and the other one has got a fortress city, so let's go fight the short pointy-eared people instead. They should be a lot easier to beat, and I hear they're tasty too. So they marched their way into Fanland and met the potato people of Beladia. We don't talk about this migration though. Being beaten by a bunch of sentient potato plants kinda stings the ego to this day. This encounter did change the ethnic makeup of Beladia though. Many Hyur became citizens and were integrated there. Years later, when Beladia had its own little civil war, it was a Hyur, Baldur Thorn, who took over as Sultan in Uldar. Yes, Uldar was ruled by a Hyur for a while. Oh, as we've gone through all the city-states, we should probably talk about Limsa Lominsa. Well, Hyur of Limsa Lominsa are mostly descendants of Hurrian sailors who were captured and forced into service aboard Seawolf vessels, enjoying their time with daddy and mommy. Many Hyur also just passively moved there. Moving everywhere just seems to be a thing Hyurs do. So how does this differ from the Highlanders? Well, the Highlanders lived in the eastern region of Eorzea. Back then the Highlanders were far too busy murdering each other for glory and growing gloriously bushy and beautiful eyebrows. They had no time to expand into the rest of Eorzea. They did nothing but war and kill each other for literally any reason. Any reason. Did someone sneeze on you? Time for war. Did someone not laugh at your joke? It's murder time. Highlander politics. In the 6th Astral Era, they were united under a single warlord, Anshelm Cotter. It is rumored that he was born without eyebrows, and this was a very touchy subject for him. So, as Lord of all Highlanders, he declared eyebrows for men illegal. Oh, he also ended the Highlander infighting, mainly by crushing anyone who opposed him. He then led them down out of the mountains, claiming all the lands of Gyr Abania as his own, displacing or killing anyone who was living there. Highlander politics. He then established the city-state of Alamigo, which survives to this day as a ghost town because there's literally no reason to ever be there. Fun fact, due to the Highlander history of living in the very harsh Abelanthia spine, along with near constant fighting and war amongst themselves, they became much larger and more muscular than their Midlander cousin. Official lore reason there. The real reason though? I mean, they lived in the Abelanthia spine. They lived very close to the Hell's God that also valued strength and combat. Maybe these two clans got close. Very close. So, what is with their culture? Unfortunately, there's no general rule for the Hyur. Any sense of universal cultural identity, which is easily done for all the other races, is pretty much impossible here. They have very little group cohesion, resulting in them having numerous cultures, histories, languages, and such. The only generally universal thing about the Hyur is their value of individuality and knowledge. Unfortunately for them, they will never be the best at anything, but this won't stop them from trying. So, because of this, to interact with a Hyur, try to be encouraging. You're an Elezen, and you see a Midlander archer hit a target 1,000 malms away. He's celebrating. You smile. It's cute. You go over and encourage him. Pat him on the head and tell him he's a big boy now. He doesn't know you can easily hit targets at double that distance, in high wind, at night. You're a Rugden, and you see a Highlander deadlift 1,000 pounds. They get so excited and happy. How cute you think, as you're busy doing bicep curls with 2,000 pounds in one arm while casually drinking your morning ale with the other. They think they're so impressive. Go over and encourage them. Act all impressed. Tell them they're so strong. Wow, they're really trying. Now for their naming conventions. With the Hyur we have two clans, the Midlanders and the Highlanders. Let's start with the Midlanders. Be aware that their naming conventions change and have different rules depending on where the Midlander comes from. Eorzean Midlanders have a very different naming convention than that of the Far Eastern Midlanders, or the Sharlayan Midlanders, or the whatever Midlanders. So we are only going to be talking about Midlanders who are from Eorzea. The Eorzean Midlanders' names are inspired by pre-17th century Anglo-Saxon, Celtic and Breton names. Their last names are usually based off of whatever their profession is or location from where their family lived. These last names could also be from a person's outward features, like their hair color, some defining feature, or whatever. Some examples of male Midlander names are Bran Potter, Ricard Hunt, Orizic Weaver, Gerald Walker, and some examples of female Midlander names are Leneve White, Anna Shepherd, Ediva Smith, and Audrey Spence. Moving on to Highlanders. Just like the Midlanders, we are only going to talk about the naming conventions of Highlanders who are from Eorzea. Because, just like the Midlanders, the Highlanders from other regions have very different naming conventions. Eorzean Highlanders have their names inspired from medieval, Germanic and Norman names, with the Highlanders' surnames often being, let's say, colourful, a nickname they may have earned during battle, or a family name that nearly always involves warfare, strength, fighting, or violence in some way. Example for males are Sigimund Longblade, Otgar Wolfsblood, Ragnald Spinebreaker, Leeuwenhart Outlaw, and examples for females are Gazella Nailripper, Gedberta Strong, Eneve Frostraff, and Sophia Westknight. Yeah, that's it really. There honestly isn't much unique or difficult about Eorzean Hyur names. However, remember, Hurrian cultures and heritages are vast, and there are likely many different naming conventions in them. So perhaps a Hyur is from a little-known culture from some small island that named themselves similar to the Hellsguard. Totally possible. Perhaps a Hyur is from a small village hidden in the mountains where their names have to rhyme like a Lalafell. Dickus. Also possible. The great thing about the vast amount of Hyur cultures is that any name, worth a little bit of finagling, could be lore-friendly. And that's our conclusion. That's what there is to know about the Hyur. I hope you enjoyed. Please continue to leave likes and comments. They have and will continue to help this tiny channel grow. So goodbye then, friends, and have a great day.
Bum, bum, bum.